Oh man, the crypto market has had a lot of updates over the last day and a half here, from Mutant Ape fraud to the SEC investigating Binance's Voyager acquisition to what's going on with FTX and Sam Bankman Fried taking out money when he's not supposed to be doing it. What's going on with the Robinhood stake, and holy smokes, Bitcoin's stability. In fact, that is exactly where I want to begin. I have to say, it is very impressive how stable Bitcoin has been since really the end of November here, in the face of still relative market turmoil. I mean, look at this. We bottomed out at about 15.4, and we've been sitting on this 0% Fibby line, but not falling further. When we go look at the NASDAQ, for example, oh, good old Webull updates, gotta love those. When we zoom out and look at the NASDAQ, hey, we're off of that bottom that we had in October. Great. But the market's really been suffering. At least that's what it's been feeling like. And certainly if you look at a stock like Tesla, oh, good Lord. But BTC's stability in the face of all of this, pretty impressive, pretty surprising. Now, of course, we don't want to suggest that the decline it's faced is impressive. But then again, we've seen a decline of risk assets across the board. And that's exactly what Bitcoin is. It is a form of a risk asset, especially if you invest in NFTs, like the Mutant Apes NFT. This is a derivative of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. And this individual sold NFTs for approximately $500 a piece. Ended up taking about $2.9 million before rug pulling, using that mostly for personal purposes, living in Dubai. A lot of people actually moved to Dubai because of their lax extradition treaties with countries. Basically meaning if you get in trouble in the United States, you can live in Dubai and Dubai might not kick you out because they kind of want more people living in Dubai. Anyway, and even if you're a criminal, I guess, oh jeez. Yeah, I don't know, maybe that's the exception. But anyway, French guy living in Dubai here apparently landed in JFK at the New York airport. Well, one of them, there's LaGuardia and JFK. But anyway, JFK airport, and boom, the government arrested him. Individual blamed the toxic NFT community. And the government said, no, F you, you are a fraud and a scammer. So bye, Felicia. Speaking of fraud and scams, we got to talk about, well, Binance. Although this one's a hot tamale because a lot of folks think, no, they back their assets one-to-one. Look at those proof of reserves. A lot of other people say, no. Proof of reserves do not show debt. There's a reason Binance's auditor, Mazars, who prepares those proof of reserves reports, has stopped doing them because they're frustrated that, well, the people are realizing, oh, wait a minute, what about liabilities? Now, of course, Cryptoquant has been supporting Binance based on on-chain data, but we still don't know what other derivative liabilities could be out there for Binance. But in the meantime, and maybe also what is spawning the SEC's investigation into Binance, the SEC has now intervened in a deal where Binance is trying to buy Voyager Digital. They announced about a month and a half ago that they were interested in buying Voyager Digital for $1 billion and about $20 million in extra residual value for the platform. That's about $1 billion in bailouts for customer assets, and again, $20 million in value for the actual platform, which is basically nothing in the scope of $1 billion deal here. The SEC has now filed objections to Binance's acquisition, suggesting that the SEC has insufficient evidence to show how Binance would actually consummate the transaction, and a transaction of this magnitude. In other words, how would customer assets be protected? What kind of liabilities does Binance have? If they're getting $1 billion of customer assets, are those going to actually remain customer assets, or are they going to get used for something else? Now, we don't know, but the SEC is saying we're stopping this deal until we actually have transparency from Binance, which is quite interesting. Now, Binance so far has been weathering the storm. They faced about $6 billion of withdrawals in December. They still haven't gone out of business, despite a lot of the drama that's been happening in the crypto space. Consider that Genesis is now complaining, saying they need more time to file disclosures. This led the Winklevoss brothers to freak out, sending an open letter to, while posting it on Twitter, complaining that Genesis needs to provide answers and stop with their, quote, bad faith stall tactics for when they're actually going to provide people's money back through Gemini Earn. Okay, more detail. So Gemini Earn was basically a way where you could deposit money and then get yield on the money you deposited when you left it in stablecoins and enabled the Earn platform on Gemini. Now, I've always warned against the yield on these stablecoins, as I don't know where this is coming from. It's very, very risky. And this is an example of the risk. What Gemini did is they took that money and they basically gave it to Genesis. Genesis could then try to invest and make a higher yield, which worked great in a bull market when prices were going up. Now that prices are not going up, Genesis has had to pause withdrawals, and Gemini therefore had to pause withdrawals on Gemini Earn, which again was being fulfilled by Genesis. Gemini is owed around $900 million, and they complain that policemen, firefighters, teachers, individuals of all walks of life have their money tied up, and Genesis owes the money back as soon as possible. Genesis is now laying off about 30% of its trading floor. About 60 people have been fired. They're trying to avoid bankruptcy. At the same time, you have drama over at Coinbase, which actually was seen as good news, but Coinbase finally settled with the state of New York for anti-money laundering violations, know your customer violations and failures. $50 million is going to go into a 2-year program to improve their KYC processes, and $50 million is sort of a punishment for weak compliance measures. Just crazy because Coinbase is one of the big ones, but anyway. FTX, and they're publicly listed, right? So it's like you're publicly listed and you screwed up? Ooh, boy, a big old fine. But anyway. FTX has officially had a trial date set for Sam Bankman-Fried via his judge. We expect there to be a 4-week trial for the 8 charges against him. The trial date is set for October 2nd. So far, Sam Bankman-Fried has pleaded not guilty, and you might wonder, why does it take so long to get to trial? That's 10 months of him staying at home and playing video games, and that's because there's an expectation that thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of documents and subpoenas and searches and chats will be submitted to the court for evidence. And this will all have to be reviewed, and presentations will have to be put together by both the defense and the prosecution. That takes a lot of time and costs attorneys a whole lot of money. So far, though, the judge has also allowed the sealing of evidence of whom the 2 individuals are who co-signed outside of Sam Bankman-Fried's parents for Sam Bankman-Fried's bail. We believe that the bail collateral requirement was about $25 million. The parents of Sam Bankman-Fried have a home that they've pledged as collateral, which is only worth a few $1,000,000, net of debt, maybe even less. So there are 2 others who have pledged a significant form of collateral to get Sam Bankman-Fried out of jail, and everyone's wondering who those individuals are, but so far the judge is sealing that data. Blockchain Data is also noticing that around $684,000 of coins related to Alameda wallets have suddenly been moved around. Sam Bankman-Fried does have a condition that he's not to spend more than $1,000 without court approval, and it's unclear whether this actually is considered spending money, but this moving of hundreds of thousands of dollars when he claims to have no net worth is quite sus and is frustrating a lot of folks, as these could be customer assets that are being toyed with by Sam Bankman-Fried as he's out on bail. Pretty disgusting. Silvergate, heavily exposed to crypto here, obviously, has fired 40% of its staff. Customers withdrew $8.1 billion in the 4th quarter. They had to sell $718 million of assets at a loss just to maintain cash liquidity. The new deposits are down 68%. The stock ticker symbol SI is what's been suffering. The Silvergate Capital Group down another 10%. This stock, once trading for $239, is now trading for $11. You might have thought that Tesla's stock drop was rough, but this stock has lost over 95%. Now, in bad news for Earn tokens, Celsius's Earn tokens have been called unsecured creditors by the Celsius bankruptcy judge. That basically means that if you had deposits in Celsius Earn, you're not looked at as a depositor who's usually in the first line for getting your money back. You're actually an unsecured debtor or like creditor. So in other words, they owe you a debt. And they get moved way back in bankruptcy proceedings in terms of when you might ever get your money back. So for Celsius coins, not looking good. On top of that, you've got FTX's Robinhood stake getting seized by the government. Right now, Sam Bankman-Fried's Robinhood purchase, which was conducted mostly with margin from Alameda, has been seized. It represents about $460 million worth of shares in Robinhood stock. Robinhood stock trading at about $8 a share right now. And that money is now being held by the government. Who knows if that'll end up getting liquidated to help try to reimburse and help people recover some of their deposits that were on chain or at the platform with FTX. So we'll see. But boy, oh boy, you've got a lot of crypto happenings. And despite all of this, BTC sitting at 16.8, pretty dang impressive. You got to give BTC credit for that. You've got Ethereum sitting at 12.6, not as low as the 880 we saw in July. But boy, oh boy, actual stability in Ethereum and Bitcoin despite all of these crazy things happening. All eyes, though, of course, on Binance to see how that story is going to unfold. Thanks so much for watching, folks, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.